Mars is somewhere we cannot wait to explore, but at this moment, it's not really possible for the human race. We have achieved many things to do with Mars though, such as robots going there, and rovers to check the planet out. Recently, a telescope captured some new images of the planet, and gave us a new insight into it. So, stay tuned to today's video as we discuss new images from Mars. First up, James Webb Space Telescope's first images of Mars reveal atmospheric secrets. We have just got news of brand new images coming from the James Webb Telescope as it has finally seen its first view of Mars. It recently viewed the planet through an infrared light coming from it with some high sensitivity. These first images and spectra from Mars were released by the James Webb Telescope on Monday the 19th of September 2022. These were officially shown off at Europlanet Science Congress of 2022. The measurements and images were made on the 5th of September from the James Webb Telescope's position, or run 1 million miles from Mars, which is about 1.6 million kilometers. These images of Mars show the side of the planet lit by the sun at the moment, and that was facing the telescope. These were captured by the James Webb Telescope's near-infrared camera and should provide planetary scientists with a brand new, unique view of Earth's closest neighbor. The images should deliver data that can be used in conjunction with other observations made by current rovers on the planet from NASA's Perseverance and Craft in the Martian orbit. Mars is obviously relatively close to us and is very bright, meaning that this isn't the easiest object for the James Webb Telescope to capture. This telescope was designed to see very distant and incredibly faint objects to visualize them, which means that Mars was an incredibly hard task for it. Mars is so bright that the challenge is how to see it. NASA Planetary Systems Laboratory at Goddard Space Flight Center scientist and lead investigator Giuliano Liuzzi said in an EPSC press conference to mark the release of the images. To stop this infamously bright infrared light from Mars blinding the James Webb Telescope instruments, scientists around it used some very short exposures to observe Mars and capture the red planet in images. This meant that measuring only some of the light that reached the telescope's detectors, then applying certain new special methods to analyze and collect data. We can see this incredible resolution. We have the diffraction limit of a space telescope in the infrared, which is fantastic. We can see the whole planet. Liuzzi continued, observing Mars around the clock. The James Webb Telescope was recently able to capture spectral images using spatial resolution that astronomers need to study short-term phenomena like the weather on Mars, dust storms, planetary weather patterns, and even changes that happen due to the seasons on Mars. Additionally to this, the James Webb Telescope allowed scientists that capture events that happen at different times throughout a Martian day. These are events that occur during the sunset, at night, and during daytime, all in a single observation. These first images of Mars taken by the James Webb Telescope show an area in the eastern hemisphere of the planet, which are actually in two different wavelengths of light. The short wavelength the image captured is dominated by reflected sunlight and shows details of Mars's surface that resemble features seen through visible light. Through this wavelength, we can see features like the Huygens crater, an insanely large 280-mile wide, a 450-kilometer wide impact crater, as well as a dark volcanic rock in the Syrtis Major Planum. The James Webb Telescope's NIRCam camera also caught the light that Mars emits at longer wavelengths through infrared as it loses its heat. The brightness of this light is insane and relates to the temperature of Mars and its atmosphere, meaning that the brightest and warmest areas are located where the sun is mostly overhead on the planet. The brightness then diminishes towards the Martian polar regions as they are exposed to much less sunlight, just like Earth's. The northern hemisphere of the planet, which is currently in the midst of a Martian winter, obviously receives much less light, just like our north and south poles on Earth. This means that the amount of light reaching the James Webb Telescope varies and isn't only related to the planet's temperature. These images collected by the James Webb Telescope also give scientists hints at a chemical composition of the Martian atmosphere and surface. Atmospheric clues at the Hellas Basin. Whilst analyzing the spectrum of light detected from Mars through the data collected by the James Webb Telescope, astronomers are now able to determine the composition of its atmosphere as well as its surface. Just after analyzing the James Webb Telescope images, Liuzzi and his scientific team found that around the 1,200-mile wide space there is a darker area than its surroundings, even at the hottest times of the day in that Martian region. One of the neat things is that you can see a dark pitch that is a basin on Mars. We weren't expecting that. We were seeing something very bright, but it got darker, Liuzzi said. This is actually not a thermal effect at Hellas. The darkening seen at this well-preserved impact structure is the result of light passing through the Martian atmosphere and being absorbed by carbon dioxide. The Hellas Basin is a lower altitude and thus experiences higher air pressure, the Goddard researcher explains. That higher pressure leads to a suppression of the thermal emission at this particular wavelength range due to an effect called pressure broadening. It will be very interesting to tease apart these competing effects in these data. The brand new images seen by the telescope also demonstrate the new ability of the James Webb Telescope, as it is able to study Mars using the technique called spectroscopy. This technique uses measurements taken with the telescope's your infrared spectrograph instrument. Because of the chemicals absorbed and emit light in very specific wavelengths, scientists in the planetary field can now use spectroscopy to study the quote-unquote fingerprints that different chemicals leave behind in the light passing through a planet's atmosphere to then determine its composition. Some of the initial results that the scientists obtained show spectral features encoded with information about icy clouds, Martian dust, and even the composition of the atmosphere. As well as this, they were also able to discover the type of rocks found upon Mars's surface. These observations made by the James Webb Telescope should be able to identify if the presence of water, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, as well as other chemical compounds are available on Mars. Liuzzi then went on to point out a new debate regarding the presence of methane upon Mars. They said that these initial ground-based observations on rovers provided evidence of this compound, but were very sporadic. The ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter created measurements, but they haven't been able to confirm this. And even observations from Earth A2, complicated by methane in our planet's atmosphere to detect differences in methane. The big conundrum has been that the rovers on the surface and the observational data have left a gap between 0 and 10 kilometers, 6 miles, he said. Now we have James Webb. We can see the full column of the atmosphere all the way to the surface where the rover is. So we've provided a new way to solve this conundrum. Methane is important, Liuzzi added, because it can tell planetary scientists a lot of geological processes on Mars, including if something large has struck the red planet from space recently. Methane could also hint at biological activity in the planet's ancient history. That's what our main target is right now, Liuzzi said. The JWST team is currently producing a paper presenting its findings for peer review. And that is everything we have about these brand new images coming from the James Webb Telescope and how it can reveal atmospheric secrets from Mars. It's awesome to see that we are finally getting more information about the nearby red planet and what could possibly be going on there. All of the planets surrounding us are much different than our Earth's atmosphere, so it's obviously a lot different for these sorts of technologies. The James Webb Telescope might just be one of the most groundbreaking pieces of technology that we have created, and that could be applied to Mars right now. It's given scientists a brand new piece of technology and information to study. We are now able to look into the atmosphere of Mars and how methane and other gases affect the planet. We can then take these images on scientific discoveries to figure out what areas of the planet could have water as well as other different elements. What an awesome piece of technology, and we cannot wait to see what else it will bring up in the next few years or even decades. Please let us know down in the comments section below your thoughts and all of this, as well as your opinion on the recent images from the James Webb Telescope. And that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know down in the comments section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye!